Together, we're going to form an unholy alliance. So I was scrolling down my timeline today, and something caught my attention. It was an article, and the title of the article read, "Satanists and Witches Team Up with Leftists to Try and Destroy America." Now, at first when I saw this title, I thought, alright, maybe this is satire, maybe this is like comes from one of those satire pieces like Babylon Bee or The Onion or any other, or possibly even Christwire for that matter. But I clicked on the article and I saw exactly what website it came from, and I'm like, oh shit, these guys are fucking serious. It came from a website called LifeSite News. Now, if you know anything about LifeSite News, pretty much they're an anti-abortion website. They're also against euthanasia, stem cell research, surrogacy, in vitro fertilization, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, why would you be against I can see why, because, I'm an anti-natalist. But I don't see why, from a conservative Christian perspective, why they would be against in vitro fertilization or assisted reproduction technology or anything like that. Also, they're against, gay marriage, trans rights, and pretty much anything that makes you a decent human being. Well, anyway, I saw this article, and like I said, at first I thought it was a joke, but these guys are really fucking serious, and it's just absolutely hilarious. It's absolutely hilarious what's written in this article. But, if I had to read this rubbish, now you do too. So let's all read it together. Right, so right here you have a terribly photoshopped picture of a witch, which I seriously doubt this is a witch. It's a photoshopped picture of a woman sitting in the middle of a field reading a book with a photoshopped, what is that, like a fucking Molotov cocktail? No, it's not a Molotov cocktail. I don't know what the hell that shit is. But let's just say that, yeah, they terribly photoshopped this. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and get to the meat and cheese of the article. The recent protests were supposed to be rallies of concerned Americans who were horrified by the death of George Floyd. However, many of these protests degenerated into riots that destroyed parts of American cities. Unfortunately, many capitalized on the events to present other agendas. Most people who have absolutely nothing to do with the issue of community policing are hoping to hijack the debate. Thus, the left has used the occasion to bring together ecologists, socialists, feminists, LGBT activists, pro-abortion advocates, and others to push their false class struggle narratives upon the American public. Less known, however, is the involvement of darker forces. Satanists and witches were invoking evil powers to aid those participating in the violence. Really now? I don't recall ever getting an invite to go to any of these events, and neither has any of my other Satanist friends or, witches for that matter. Although I will say I did go to a peaceful protest, and I did meet other Satanists, and I was surprised because I didn't know that there were that many where I lived. I thought I was the only one. Most of my close satanic friends are either across the bridge over in Philly or up north over in New York City. So I'm actually glad that I got to meet a few around the area. So hopefully once things reopen, I'll have a chance to hang out with them. I love how they try to, make it seem so evil, like ecologists and socialists and feminists. Don't get me wrong, like, everyone knows that I critique socialism and I do critique feminism, but like, I think reuniting behind ending police brutality and ending the way the United States deals with policing. I don't see how that's a bad thing at all. And then LGBT activists. I mean, what do you expect? It's Pride Month. It's June. I mean, fuck. I mean, don't Christians get tired of fucking picking on people anyway? Why you gotta be the fucking bully? Let them have their fucking months. Pro-abortion, like I said, that's controversial. Me personally, since I personally don't think that we should be having a bunch of kids if you can't take care of money. If you don't have the means to take care of a child, then why the fuck would you bring one into the world? You can't. I mean, and to say that's a class struggle, well, it is a class struggle. I mean, you have a lot of people in this country that are underemployed, unemployed, especially now because lots of people got laid off. I was reading a news article the other day about how 1.5 million people filed for unemployment in one day. I was watching the Kyle Kalinske show, and he was showing me a long line of people waiting outside of an unemployment office. So shit is bad. I mean, children are expensive as it is. So can you really blame anyone if they want to get a fucking abortion? An abortion's a lot cheaper than raising a child for 20 plus years. And some people want to say, oh, well, you only raised for 18 years. Yeah, but what if they go to school? What if they're still living in your house? What if, you're always going to need the help of your parents. Even I need the help of my parents. And matter of fact, my mother just came by my flat, Thursday, and spent a few days with me. So parents do care about their children even when they do become adults. So anyway, let me get back to reading this article. We're on the section called Casting Spells and Hexes. Oh, this should be fun. The witches do not hide their involvement in the violent protests. Mashable reports that witches' covens are actively engaged in hexing police officers, who they accuse of brutality. Accuse? We have video. I don't see how it's an accusation if we have, I don't know if anyone's ever seen my my music video for Leftover Crack or So You Want to Be a Cop. Pretty much is highlighting all of the police brutality incidents that has happened, both in the past and in the present. So I don't know how you could say it's accused when we literally have proof. They especially target those who are risking their lives to stop the riots. The witches also cast spells asking for protection for protesters that confront the police, which activists use their dark arts as cutting-edge weapons for those who want to engage in a more spiritual class warfare. These guys are really fucking serious. These guys really believe that in fucking Casper and angels and demons and all that shit. To be honest, I used to be as crazy as these people. I was a Christian for many years of my life, and it wasn't until 2012 or 2013 that I started getting a little bit more secular. 2015 I became satanic, so but I'm just surprised at how I seriously doubt the person who wrote this article ever read a book about Wicca, or even read the Satanic Bible, or the Satanic Witch, or the Satanic Warlock, or the Satanic Companion book, or any satanic book for that matter. I mean, spiritual dark art warfare, and I mean, of course, I can understand you want to pray for the witches wanting to pray for the protesters. I mean, they are getting beat with sticks. These are protesters that are unarmed. I mean, I showed you that clip from Rod Webber of the unarmed protester that was shot in the back by a rubber bullet. I was about to say wooden stake. Bloody hell! I'm not trying to hunt a vampire over here. Let me get back to the article. The hashtag Witches for Black Lives Matter serves a meeting place for practicing witches who want to learn to cast protection spells, draw occult signals, and hex police. 5 days after the hashtag started, it garnered 10 million views on the TikTok app. Props. Major props for the witches for that. The postings also include videos of witches casting spells or even acting out what they believe will happen to the police they target. The hexing can get very personal as the witches teach others to write down the names of individual police officers on papers, which are then burned with black candles. The Hexes aimed to bring misfortune to the officers already at risk while defending the city from disorder. Now, I'm gonna just point out right now, not all of the cops out there are, out there trying to protect people. I've been watching the news. Like I said, you see police officers destroying property. Like for example, one of the things that protects you from tear gas is milk. So what one of the protesters did was he brought milk to a rally, basically to pour it over people's eyes if they get tear gassed. So a bunch of cops showed together with Hummers, and then they swarm right in front of where all the milk is, and then they take out the batons and start smashing the milk bottles. And then the riot cops come in. When the protests are trying to stop the cops, the riot cops come in to block them off. And the news reporter is literally filming the police tearing up milk bottles and medic tents and stuff like that. I mean, like, that should tell you something. Why the hell would you bash peaceful protesters and medics for that matter? I mean, you're really not going. I mean, that's the thing. I saw that video of the police union saying, "Oh, stop treating us like criminals and thugs," and I'm sitting here like, now you know exactly how people in this country have been feeling all the time, because you look at some of us and treat us like criminals and thugs, and then now you're mad that people want to treat you like criminals and thugs. Welcome to our side of the road. Bloody hell. I'm not gonna lie, there are some good cops out there that are marching with the protesters, that are kneeling with the protesters, that do side with the protesters. They're just, and some of them are just, literally doing their job, and they are, well, I will say, doing a fairly good job. Not all cops are violent. I don't really believe all that. I come from a long line of police officers. My uncle's, he's a retired cop. Aunt is a retired corrections officer. I still have friends that are part of the sheriff's department. There's also, local police departments as well. Let me continue. Mixing politics and the occult. The witches are part of a growing movement mixing politics and the occult. Numerous books of spells have been published since the 2016 elections, advising occultist activities how to invoke the powers of darkness for political causes. Witches and Satanists are appearing more often in public to push their agenda and display their scorn for God and his laws. Well, that's completely false right there. First of all, if you know anything about the Church of Satan, whether it be the Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple, or the United Aspects of Satan, we don't really proselytize. Just me wearing my necklace, or me, carrying this flag, I'm not really, forcing it anyone out there. These are just my views and my beliefs. If you agree with us, then bloody hell. No one's forcing you to fucking join. Like I said, I bought all of my satanic Bibles myself. No one's done it for me. No one's forced me into Satanism. In fact, I actually researched it myself, and I decided to make the active decision to become one. But yeah, we don't push that. We believe in the separation of church and state. So I don't see how that's scorning God and his laws, when the laws of this country weren't even based on the Bible. Some people want to say, oh, well, the laws of the United States are based on the 10 Commandments. Well, so far, only 3 out of the 10 Commandments are law. Don't lie, don't steal, and don't murder anybody. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, or something like that. And some people want to say, oh, well, that's debatable, but you can get in a lot of trouble for perjury. Such occult activism appears at odds with past leftist policies. The left used to follow a secular outlook that did not recognize spiritual power of any kind. Well, it still does. It never did. The secularists have never taken any religious perspective or sided with any religious organization. It always tried to keep politics and Christianity separate by labeling Christian actions as superstitious. However, the left is now welcoming witches and occultists with their dark arts into public square. Their involvement in the recent protest should surprise no one. Well, I honestly don't believe that to be true. I mean, no one's Like I said, no one's actually came to me about Satanism. No one's actually came to my witch friends about, you know, Wicca or whatever they practice. So I don't see how, and to be honest with them, let's say that they are welcoming. Can you really blame them? I mean, we're like possibly like the least intrusive religious groups of people in the entire country. We don't really give a fuck about what other people do with their own bodies. You know, unlike the person who wrote this article or any of the people who wrote articles on this fucking site, always trying to ban abortion, always trying to ban, you know, gay marriage. And I'm like, what for? I mean, if you're not gay, then don't marry a fucking gay person. If you're really so happy with your fucking life, and if you're really happy, you know, with your wife or your husband or whoever it is that you marry, then why the fuck does it matter what another person does? Why does it matter who another person marries? What if they don't believe in the Bible? What? See, that's the thing. This is called projection. They want to accuse Wiccans and Satanists of doing all this shit, when that's the shit that they're doing. They're the ones trying to pass legislation so that their ideals and their beliefs are law, and then everyone else who doesn't believe in it has to follow it. Like, for example, abortion. Like, my thing is this: if a woman's body is a woman's choice, if a woman wants to get an abortion, then she should be allowed to get an abortion. If a woman does not want to get an abortion, she shouldn't have to get an abortion, you know? I personally think that things will be a lot better in this country if everyone just learns to mind their own fucking business. The secular media tends to make light of these actions, seeking them as almost curiosities. They do not believe that witches have real powers and see them as malcontents against Christianity. However, the secular left also has no problem accepting them into its ranks despite secular leftist beliefs in the supernatural. The occult story of the devil oppressed by an almighty God fits into their tired class struggle narrative and fuels their disdain for God. While you do realize that not all leftists are, you know, atheistic, you have to understand secular does not necessarily mean atheistic. That just means that you believe religion should be left out of any other aspects. I mean, for example, music. You know, you have musicians that practice Christianity, but you know they don't always write songs about Christianity. You know, it's secular music. And also another thing, just because someone is secular doesn't necessarily mean they're atheists. There are secular Christians, there are secular Muslims, there are secular Jews. So some people want to keep their religion to themselves and, you know, just want to coexist in, you know, a regular society like what humans are supposed to do. I have to understand, you know, some people are tribalistic, but, you know, other people have learned to put that aside and, you know, work together, because, you know, this is something, you know, the whole idea of police brutality, racism, homophobia, transphobia, that's something we've all got to, you know, stand together against, whether it's one person getting killed, one child being abused, one person getting their rights taken away. You know, if we all don't pull together as human beings, then we're not going to make it. The fight between good and evil. Religious Americans have no problem understanding the presence of the occult in this fight. If Christian prayers to God can affect events, then invocations to the devil can also have major consequences indeed. Christians have long defended history as the fight between the forces of good and evil, whereas chaos, hatred, and agitation exists. The occult can be expected to have its role. It was the saving action of Christ that conquered the devil and sin and prepared the way for Christian civilization. Alright. Well, I honestly don't believe that prayer works. I mean, here's an example. Let's say you have a little kid who's praying that it doesn't rain because he wants to go outside and ride his bicycle. And let's say you have a farmer that prays that it does rain so it can water his crops. Who does God listen to? Does he listen to the little boy, or does he listen to the farmer? And also another thing, what if it's across different religions? What if one a Muslim prays for one thing and a Christian prays for another? Or what if it's intra-denominational? What if it's a Baptist prays for one thing and, a Methodist prays for something else? I mean, who does God listen to? I mean, with all these people all around the world praying for different things, some of it contradicts another. Who does he decide who to listen to? Is it based on priority over what's more important? Or is it based on, how rich or poor a person is? Or is it based on, how religious or how long they've been practicing that specific religion? How does God know whose prayers to answer and whose prayers to ignore? This is why the involvement of witches in the protests is so troublesome to those Christians who understand the full implication of dark magic. Well, let's just say I don't really believe in dark magic or anything like that. Like I said, completely atheistic, and the Satanists. I mean, if you read the Satanic rituals, the companion book to the Satanic Bible, they do mention magic. However, all of it is melodramatic. Like I said, we're all atheistic. We don't actually believe that you can cast a spell on somebody and then turn somebody into a frog or a toad or a goat or a locust or anything like that. The action involves real forces that are dangerous and sinister. Just exactly how dangerous and sinister? You mean like in your imagination they're dangerous and sinister? The Catholic Encyclopedia defines occultist magic as the art of performing actions beyond the power of man with the aid of the powers other than the divine. When taken seriously, its practitioners expect and obtain the interference of demons or lost souls for evil ends. Sounds like they've been playing too much Dark Souls or Demon Souls or... Fucking love those games. Those are good games anyway. If you guys haven't played them, I suggest you do. For the PS5, they're remaking Demon Souls, which is the prequel to Dark Souls, if you guys haven't played Dark Souls. So I'm looking forward to that, although I might wait a year or two before I get the PS5, but here I am, I'm going off topic again. The Church admits that spirits other than God can interfere in events, although never without God's permission. Prayers of exorcism aim to limit the devil's actions over individuals and situations. Exorcism. Now they're going into like horror movie territory. I mean, exorcism? I don't know how anyone could actually believe in demon possession or anything like that. I mean, if you actually believe that a person could be possessed by demons, chances are they probably have schizophrenia. I mean, fuck. Demons? I mean, there's literally no such thing. Oh, well, I was possessed by Casper, the Holy Spirit, or I was possessed by, Beelzebub, or whatever. I don't even know. I mean, like I said, I used to believe in all this crap, and now I just see how crazy it really is. And looking back on my previous self, I'm like, damn, I was crazy as hell. In the presence of crisis, the last thing needed is occult involvement in witches' spells and incantations. This will only increase the chaos and conflict. Satan is the spirit of division and hatred. America now needs to turn to God to defeat the actions of Satan, who prowls about seeking the ruins of souls and whole societies. As if Christians didn't like fucking ruin societies. I mean, look at like fucking Nazi Germany. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of them were Christian. I mean, although I will say they did have their own version of like Nazi, Nazi mysticism, where they pretty much believed in like a modified version of like pagan Odinism or something, and they somehow found a way to embed it within Christianity. And I don't know, that's just crazy. I'll talk about that for another video. I know I don't really talk about religion much, despite the fact that, well, this is like a satanic channel, so I should be talking about a lot more. But Either way, if you actually read the Satanic Bible, I don't see how it would, destroy societies. If anything, I think would make us more, humanistic. I know the Satanic Bible, especially in LaVeyan Satanism, they're more, Darwinistic, but compared to, the united aspects of Satanism, it is more of a humanistic religion. It is more about, taking care of others and, respecting other people and stuff like that. So I don't see how, a satanic ideology will be detrimental for society. I mean, they're talking about souls and stuff. Now, to be honest, that's a whole nother thing. I don't know whether or not a soul exists. Like I said, I'm not really religious. I'm not really a spiritual person. But Satan, but to say that Satan is the spirit of division and hatred, I mean, I don't know that many Satanists that really hate anybody or, are really divisive people. But look who's talking. I'm possibly one of the most controversial people you'll ever fucking meet. But, like I said, I'm not afraid of being politically incorrect. So, but even so, like, I really wouldn't say I'm divisive because, I allow people to express their opinions on this channel and this page without blocking them, without, banning them or anything like that. Just do whatever you feel, say whatever's necessary. I'm willing to listen and I'm willing to have a conversation with people. It's mostly, I noticed out of all my time, on the internet or talking to Christians, it's mostly them that are divisive. They don't want to hear other people's opinion or see things through someone else's shoes. I personally think that they're the ones of division and hatred. I mean, they're the ones talking about how gays shouldn't be married and all this other stuff, and how a lot of these hate groups, a lot of them are led by Christians. Remember the KKK? They were a Christian organization. I'm pretty sure a lot of the people that lived down south that owned slaves, they were Christian. You have certain denominations of Christianity that are very, very anti-Semitic. Isn't that also a form of hatred? But yet, everybody wants to blame hatred on Satanism. Like I said, it's all just projection. Now a little bit about the person who wrote this article. John Horvat II is a scholar, researcher, educator, international speaker, and author of the book Return to Order, as well as the author of hundreds of published articles. He lives in Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, where he is the vice president of the American Society for the Defense of the Tradition, Family, and Property. Well, this guy is a bloody loon. Let me read more about him. John Horvat II. How many articles has he written for LifeSite? Blah 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 blah. Scholar, researcher, educational, international speaker, blah 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 blah. Appeared in the Wall Street Journal, the Christian Post, American Thinker, The Blaze. Huh. Interesting. Crisis, Fox News. Oh brother, Fox News. And the Washington Times, as well as other publications and websites. He gives more than 150 radio and TV interviews annually. Seems like a very interesting guy. I'd love to, meet with him and, tell him a little bit about Satanism. I seriously doubt that he'll invite me on one of his radio shows. But I don't know if this guy... Oh, he does have an email address. You can reach Mr. Horvat directly at jh1908@aol.com. Or well, maybe I'll send him this video. Maybe he'd like to speak with me. Maybe I can, explain what Satanism is to him. Matter of fact, maybe I should. That's what my next project is going to be. I should just film a series of videos explaining exactly what Satanism is. And I have a lot of satanic Bibles too. I mean, I've got fucking two right here. The Satanic Warlock and the Satanic Witch. I just got these two recently. Haven't really gotten the opportunity to read either of them yet, because I have at least 6 other satanic Bibles over there on my bookshelf. the 50th anniversary revision. And to be honest, I actually have 2 copies of the Satanic Companion book. I don't know why. I think they sent me 2 by mistake. But either way, I'm going to be reading the Satanic Warlock and the Satanic Witch whenever I get the chance. Who knows, I might even live stream it or something like that in case anybody else is interested in reading it. But that's that article, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see, this guy is completely uninformed or just extremely religious. So I'm gonna just leave it like that. You guys have a good one. You enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, stay metal, and have a good one.